Okay. Should we get, you want to ask me? And I was going to wear my fucking Lakers shirt. My
Hey,
LeBron, I have a LeBron, but 23 when he had, remember when he had Michael Jordan's number?
yeah. He just switched back to no, he's going back to 23 now because he was six and now he's going back to 23. No, because I think the whole league is retiring six, the number six.
What?
Yeah, for Bill Russell.
Oh my God.
So he's back
Wow.
to 23, so he can wear it again.
Right. I feel like I need to get it to be cool, but let's not waste your time. Shall we begin? Do you have any questions before we begin?
I have no questions. I have no idea what to expect. So let's just go. Let's just roll.
Okay, killer. Okay. So, let's see. So, first of all, I'd like to welcome Tyler Joe to our kind of first inaugural, like high vibe live transition to currency live interview, which is recorded, but it's recorded, not Instagram live, with Tyler Joe. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
So, guys, for those of you who don't know, Tyler Joe is an amazing street style photographer. He kind of, like, to me, burst on the scene a couple of years ago. Big smile, music later, and I invited him to be on the show. As you know, it's our fall get it or forget it issue where we're talking about the seasons, like hero pieces, my picks, like seriously, like get it or they're going to be sold out. So I thought Tyler would be the perfect person to have on because he's going to be shooting all of it and noticing all of it. And I guess that's why we do it, to get people's attention. But Tyler, let's start off by asking you, like, how did you get started? Give me a little bit about your background and how you got started, and like, yeah, how you got started, because it's such a
Yeah, I mean, like, I wasn't a traditional like photographer. I didn't study photography at all growing up. I kind of came up with like a traditional Asian background. My parents gave me a few options.
Where are you
Doctor,
from?
San Diego.
Did we talk about that
We have,
ever?
we have, we have.
Okay,
Because you were
cool.
you were surfing in San Diego or
I
something.
went to San Diego State. Yeah.
San Diego, yeah, something like that.
Okay. Anyway, so okay, you're from San Diego. They give you a couple of choices. Didn't
From
okay? Go
San
ahead.
Diego, I kind of grew up really only having the options to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer, kind of the typical traditional Asian family, but kind of like, path. And then
Mhm.
after school, I didn't really want to pursue any of that. And photography was always a hobby, but never kind of like an outlet that I thought could be like a viable career to like actually make money from or like do,
Mhm.
right? But I eventually just decided to make the jump to just go for the leap and try it, jump in the deep end. So I moved to New York with like no money, no friends, no family, and I just kind of like I just did it. And it's tough because in photography and in New York and in fashion, I think there's always a traditional way of kind of coming up. You always have to have like an internship, which leads to like this, and which leads to that. And I couldn't really get a job in fashion or photography without an internship, but I couldn't get an internship anymore because I wasn't in school anymore. So I was kind of
Mhm.
in this like catch-22 situation.
Mhm.
But at the time, this is like 2013 when like Instagram was like kind of on the come up. Like people were really starting to like brand themselves on Instagram. And then this is also a time where like, street style was kind of like really ramping up. Like Tommy Ton was like already kind of a household name. Phil O, obviously, all those big guys. And it was just something like, I was like, well, if I can't, you know, be a traditional fashion photographer and I can't work in fashion in any capacity, I have a camera. Why not just like go to a show up on the sidewalk and just kind of do what these guys do? And because you don't need any accreditation or anything. You just kind of show up and you take photos, right? And so like I've always followed like Tommy Ton's work and Phil and all that stuff for the past couple of years in college. And so I was like, I'm in New York now, might as well just show up. It was Fashion Week. So I showed up and I just started taking photos. And in hindsight, they're really bad photos. Like they're terrible. But I think again, with the rise of Instagram, I just started posting more and more and more, and I started going to more shows, and eventually, people started noticing me, and I started getting some work, and here I am.
So how did, when you say, when you say you got your for some work, like what was the first magazine or whatever that called you and said, do you want to shoot for us? Or did you just take a lot of pictures and then people would buy them? Like, describe when you
No,
were like a working straight style
I don't
photographer.
think anyone bought anything. I think I was posting work on Instagram just for the sake of posting. It was kind of like an ongoing live updating portfolio,
Wow.
that people
Okay.
could just people could just be reminded of your work every day if you post it every day.
Uh-huh.
So no one really hired me from that directly, but um I think at one point I reached out to every photo editor in New York about covering Coachella, like 2014 or something like that.
Okay.
I just wanted to go, I just wanted a reason to go to Coachella, but I was like, well, if I can work, might as well. And I think Elle magazine was the only one that got back to me. And they gave me an opportunity to shoot street style for them and cover for them. And ever since then, I was kind of just like Elle's person, so that was kind of like, if I didn't reach out, it would have never have happened. And maybe I would never have been here, but you always got to take those risks. You always got to, put yourself out there, and who knows what would have happened if I didn't do it.
Wow. I mean, that's something, of course, that this, the mojo aspect is something I'm really interested in, something Currency is really interested in. It's it's fashion, beauty, and wellness. And I'm really into all that stuff. And you definitely have a high vibe and you've got you're energetic, but you're also really grounded. So of course I'm interested in what about your upbringing or how you are, whatever you practice makes you like, how did you get the mojo to just do those calls and just show up?
Well, I mean, like I left a lot out in that story, but I mean, at the end of the day, I came here, I had no money, I had no friends. Like, I think a lot of people in New York that I know, like, they have a lot of advantages, and I didn't have any, and so like I really had to work for my anything that I have today. And there was various times where I did sleep on a bench on the East River for a night because I couldn't have a place to stay. And when I did have a place to stay, like, I was paying $400 a month in Chinatown to live with this old Chinese lady who was like my grandma's sister's best friend's hairdresser's cousin. Like, and it was
Mhm.
like rat infested, like mice everywhere. Like, you turn on the lights in the kitchen at like 2 in the morning, there's like 20 mice on the kitchen counter. I kind of like I did what I had to do to like be where I needed to be. And so like at that point I had no excuse. Like, if I'm gonna be here, if I'm like gonna barely survive, I gotta do everything I can to like get to be in any position I could be to succeed. Otherwise, I'm just spending money for nothing, and then I
Yeah,
go broke and I have to move back home. And I'm not trying to go back home. Like, I'm hungry. I'm ready to fucking follow my dream. And like I just did whatever it took to make it happen. And like it's not that hard to just email people like, hey, ask if you need any work. Like, that's the easiest thing I've ever done, right? Like, that's not even hard. So the grit or the mojo to just like ask for something, I don't know, like, that's not even grit for me. And that's just like, what else are you gonna do?
yeah.
Then your ass,
Wow.
like, wait for someone to come to hire you. You can't wait for someone to hire you. You gotta
Right.
be proactive about that shit.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, this just affirms the fact that I'd love to have you on another episode just to talk about like hustle, mojo, and passion, and how I think it's interesting why I started this series in the beginning is that people in our business, like it's hard anyways to get in our business,
Yeah,
even
100%.
when you're this or that. And I think to succeed in our business takes so much inner man, it's fucking hard. Okay. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of everything. And there's not, there are people like you, maybe like me, who, whatever, that just got started and made it happen. And there's a whole thing around that I think has to do with passion and doing what you love and having that be your guide and tapping into that. And a lot of people professionally just don't have the opportunity. They don't make that opportunity for themselves. And you got
Yeah,
to make that opportunity because no one's parents going to be like, hey, go do something where you're probably not going to ever make it. They're never going to do that. So it has to be something within you. So let's try to transition into fall fashion,
okay.
which could be totally subjective or it could be objective. It's more subjective, obviously, but there are things like certain trends that come up that your photographs will illustrate. There's certain trends you may make because you take people's pictures. But
Sure.
we're going to talk about like some hero pieces like Get It or Forget It. But in terms of you shooting street style, like what are the things that get your attention? Like who do you decide who you're going to shoot, and has that changed as you've become more established and you know where your pictures are going to go and things like that?
Yeah, I think that my like curation or selection of what I shoot, I think has definitely evolved as I've evolved as a photographer and just as a person of like who's like interested in like because like as a street style photographer, you see clothes all the time. And it's not like you see clothes like you do on the runway. Like runway is like a full collection that's designed to from one designer, but on the street, you kind of see things from a style perspective, from a personal kind of like, identity kind of way. Like the style represents who you are, and like you can wear something that's vintage, that's something with like a Marc Jacobs 2007, whatever. Like you just mix and match, and it reflects who you are. And I think that's really interesting to me. And I think as my and I think as the more I saw other people in what through my work, I developed my own sense of style, in which then I then projected back on my work in the sense that like in the beginning, I think I would shoot anything like shiny and like anything that like, looked cool. Because at the time I had no idea, I had no like education or intellect or like a real opinion on fashion, right? I'm just like a kid who studied engineering, who has a camera, who just wants to like take pictures, right? Like there's really no background or context for me in fashion. And so like I just took pictures of things that looked nice, right? And then as I started shooting more throughout the years, like I'm seeing it, like I'm almost like learning from the people that I shoot. Like, okay, like I know this person, it's this type of editor, like this is their personality, this is like their style of how they edit their stories in the magazine, and like that's their personal style. And like and like it's different from this person, and like you kind of start to like see like the intellectual part of like putting together an outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And then so like I started to get into style my fashion myself. And then I think once I kind of like I guess like had a grasp of like personal style per se, I had a more selective taste on what I shoot, because I think before I would shoot almost everything. And then now I kind of understand people who are out there to kind of like almost like quote unquote peacock just for the sake of being photographed. And then there's like people who are like obviously street style has been commercialized to some degree, so people are just walking billboards for the shows they're going to. And then there's people who are actually there doing their jobs, just and they look cool, like like so you kind of know.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of learned how to like edit out who I want to shoot, who I don't want to shoot, who I'm more attracted to be inclined to shoot. At the end of the day, I don't know if it's like a specific thing I look for. I think it's like an energy kind of thing almost. Because I think if you're not trying to like be photographed, you're just out there and you have a personal style, there is a energy to that you can't really explain. And like when you see it, you just like see this person, you're like, yeah, like that's cool. Like you can be wearing like a white tee and jeans, but it's just maybe the subtle way of how you style it that's like very you, or like maybe that's like just how like, and but that speaks to your style. Like that is what resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so throughout the years I've learned to better like kind of hone in on these like kind of like non-tangible things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so it's kind of hard to describe like what I look for, but it's definitely like something that exudes like personal self. I like self idea, like yeah, something that represents them. Someone who's just like not trying too hard. And like obviously like there's people like Michelle Ali who just like are just huge collectors of like Comme des Garçons and Junior Watanabe and all this stuff. So like she's just wearing crazy shit. You're like, that's just cool, like it's the difference between trying hard and like being out there. I don't know, but yeah,
Like trying too hard versus like a true fashion lover who
yes,
loves fashion, like
yes, that's what it is.
wears their shit. They're like, bam, I'm just gonna pile everything on. And I fucking love it. And I
Yeah,
just don't even give a shit if you know that I love it. And I'm gonna say I love it. There's something about
yeah,
people who there's a difference between like being effortless and trying to look effortless.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Right. So do you ever feel like, because we're talking about not necessarily statement pieces, but I'd probably pick out a couple things I think are going to be like, the shoe of the moment. And like, do you think after like a couple cities, or do you ever feel like you start noticing items that people are wearing? I know that you're looking at the overall style, but do you ever start to see like, oh, people are wearing that? And if so, it's like, I guess I'm trying to think like, does it, does the piece ever feel like it's wearing the person? You know what I mean? Two people could be wearing the same.
Yes and no. Yes and no. There's, I definitely don't look for pieces or trends. I like I said, I kind of just document what I think is just cool.
Mhm.
So I don't, and so if a piece happens to kind of like reoccur throughout the month, I'll definitely notice it. I won't notice it in the moment. I won't notice it probably until like end of Milan, beginning of Paris, because that's you need some time to kind of really like step back and like see everything from like a macro perspective. But eventually, yeah, you do see a couple pieces that are like consistently being worn, and there's a certain mentality behind it. Like it depends, like if it's like a piece that just a brand that just is just seeding out to everyone versus like something that's just like coming back within like the fashion cycle, and again, like two people can wear the same thing and it can translate very differently.
Mhm.
And so, I don't really photograph it because they're wearing it. Like again, like if it happens to just like if it just works and I think it's cool, like I'll shoot it. If it doesn't, I won't. But I'll never like shoot like if it's a bag per se, I won't just like shoot the bag in isolation just because I know it's a trend. Like I don't really
Right.
shoot the trends. I think my job is to document what's out there,
Mhm.
and it's an editor's job, a magazine editor's job to like kind of like take my images and like categorize
Mhm.
it into like what's happening now based on what I'm seeing, and like,
Mhm.
but it's tough because it's so commercialized. How do you kind of like separate like with the brand placement versus like what is actually happening and like
Yeah.
within the ecosystem, right?
Yeah. Do you think you know in advance, like who is seeding stuff and who,
Yeah, you can kind of
like,
tell just kind
that's
of
so.
based on like who's wearing the product, like I think, I mean, there's no shade on influencers, but a lot of the times that's their kind of their job is a market. They are a marketing tool, and so
Mhm.
a lot of the times, a lot of brands will utilize
Mhm.
their platforms and their audiences to promote their product or brand, and that's totally fine. That's a business.
Mhm.
I get it. We're all
Mhm.
kind of in this together, but I tend that like stylists and editors kind of don't really partake in that, and so I'm more geared to shooting them.
Mhm.
Just and it's this is just a fact of how the landscape has changed. Back in the day,
Mhm.
like influencers didn't really hold that weight, and so like you could they were like their own thing versus editors, but now like there's definitely a disparity of like what am I trying to say here?
I think I know exactly. Let me try to help you out. I see what you mean. Me as an editor, like it was only editors back in the day. Then
Yeah,
there were like the blog, let's call them like the bloggers,
sure.
Susie Bubble and
Yeah,
Leandra and whatever. And so they kind of come on the scene and they dressed a certain way. And a lot of them are really stylish. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
No,
Like
a
have
lot
very
of them
cool,
are. A
cool
lot of
style. And then there's like the influencers who just get paid, you know what I mean? They've kind of created their style, whatever. So I think when it comes to like editors versus influencers, and there's some people who kind of like
Yeah,
kind of cross
there's a
over
lot of in
because
between too.
they become influencers because of their style as editors, but they're not influencers.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? They don't get
that's
paid to
not
influence.
their main job.
Yeah. So what's the main difference that you can tell? Do you think you're more attracted to like editors or, people like that? And if so, like what is it about what is it about their style do you think that gets your attention? Is it more like,
They don't have an agenda. That's what it is. There's no agenda. I mean, like, sure, you might. Some people. I mean, that's obviously a generalization, but like, sure, some editors might. Were like, oh, I want to be photographed, so I'm gonna dress this way. That's totally fine. But like, I think the mentality of like why they're getting dressed is different. Like, an editor gets dressed because they're just they have a certain sense of taste and style that's personal to them, they're going to work, so they want to dress up, whatever, great. But then as an influencer, I think like your agenda is like to get paid from that. And so the more you're seen, the more you're photographed, the more you're able to market yourself to other brands to get paid
Mm-hmm.
to other, like, so it's just a different kind of approach.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with either or. Like there's, there's some influencers that can be working with a brand and going to a show and having to like contractually wear like head to toe their brand, but they can also style it or add a couple pieces that are very much their own sense of style too, right? Because not
Mm-hmm.
everyone is like this. Like there's a lot of people who I love their style, but they're influencers, and like that's fine. But they're able to really like project their own personality even within the branded context, which is then
Mm-hmm.
where you really can differentiate between the influencers themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So
What do you think contributes to like a sense of personal style? Like, let's talk about that. I mean, I think in one instance, you're talking about people who are dressed as a brand and they make something their own style. Like that, a question would be like, how do you think they make it their own style? Is it their hair? Is it their makeup? Is it the way they're walking? Is it jewelry? You
yeah,
know,
I think that
let's take that instance first, and then I want to get to another.
I think every influencer kind of has their own thing if they do have a thing. And for example, there's Jamie Shee, like she was on the she's was on the show Bling Empire,
Mm-hmm.
and her thing, she always has like really crazy hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that's kind of like her thing. And so like other people have other things, and it's just like one way to kind of like just inject your own personality to something that is not technically you, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
sure, yeah, you're
Yep.
out there, but you're still being dressed head to toe from a brand, which is again
Mm-hmm.
totally fine. But like, but then when like 30 people are also being dressed head to toe for a brand, us, like for example, if I'm going to the Prada show,
Uh-huh.
everyone being invited to the Prada show is going to be wearing head to toe Prada. And at one season, people were only wearing like one of three outfits.
Totally.
So it's like it gets
Yes.
kind of boring. Like when you kind of see like five people in one of three, like five people in one outfit, five people in another, and then 20 people in another. Like you have the option
Wow.
A, B, or C, and like so
Yeah.
it gets boring. And so like when you're able to at least when they're able to at least like inject their own flair to it, then like it adds some sort of like variety to kind of what they're doing, and it just makes them stand out also.
So it's not necessarily like jewelry or like the way they're tucking it in, because obviously, like, let's take that Prada, any Prada season, like you're either gonna like untuck the tank top or tuck it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
no, they no, but they can style it differently. I've seen people like style things pretty untraditionally. And so like I don't know because I don't know what like the contracts and stipulations are of how they have to wear things. I'm not kind of in that space, right? But
mhm.
like I've seen people wear the same outfit and one styles it totally different than the other. I'm like, that's cool. Never
Okay,
thought about it
cool.
that way.
And then, so what about the people, so, like mostly editors, I guess, have like a kind of uniform that they wear. What about that? Like I guess I'm thinking of someone like Emmanuel Alt or something who really like kind of wears the same pieces, whether they're in or out. Like, are you gonna take her picture regardless? Because her style is just
Yeah,
like,
I don't think a uniform means you're unstylish. I mean, like a uniform can that's just like their concept per se. Like that's like their thing. Like if they look cool, they look cool. It doesn't matter if it's uniform or not. Like
mhm,
the uniform isn't this, and there's different varieties day to day. They're not wearing the same thing every day. I mean, if they,
mhm,
I wear uniform most of the time too. I wear all white a lot of the times. But like
mhm,
people say I'm stylish. I'm like, I'm wearing a white t-shirt and white carpenter jeans. Like what is so
mhm,
stylish about that? But that goes to the same, like this whole goes back to the whole point of like, it kind of goes back to like how like the energy of how you put it together and like how you go about yourself and even just like the reasons why you do it, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
a uniform can be cool. And I mean, a uniform is cool depending on how you do it.
mhm.
I'll shoot it
So
all
let
day.
me ask you about, like, it sounds a lot, it sounds like it's a lot about energy. I mean, I know you personally, so I know your energy, which is super, you know, it's wonderful, it's radiant, it's welcoming, it's confident, it's excited and passionate, you know. Um, and it sounds like even though people aren't you, like maybe energetically it has something to do with it and like their confidence. Like, let's talk about the music thing because I feel like that's a vibe. And how did that start? And do you think that that kind of contributed to your sort of success or popularity?
Yeah,
And if you don't, and I'll just describe it, it's like you see Tyler and he's really happy, and obviously he is stylish and he's cool. And I want to talk about jewelry at some point too, because I feel like that's interesting. And certainly something about you. But how did that start? Like, tell me about that. And does it influence whose picture you take or who stops by?
yeah. I think the music, it doesn't influence what pitch whose picture I take, but it has been a real defining moment in my career. That was a huge accident in the sense that, like, you know, as a street style photographer, you're out on the street all day, whether it's the beating down sun or it's coming down crazy snow or rain and it's freezing cold. So, you know, a lot of the times when the show is happening, when we're not working, we're just kind of standing outside waiting for the show to end, you know. And I think at one point, my friends and I were playing music just because, you know, we're just passing the time, just kind of like having a vibe, you know, fucking around to music on the sidewalk. And then I think one of the show, I can't remember what show it was. It was in Milan. One of the shows ended, and then we didn't realize it ended. People were coming out, and then we're on the corner, you know, just like vibing out. And then people started coming up, and they're like, "Oh shit, yeah, let's go!" Like they started like feeling it, and I would just this is at the time where I first started doing video, just because like I wanted to differentiate myself from like the photographers. So I started to do video. And then so like I was like this is cool. So I pressed record. And I was just like recording people like, you know, vibing out to the music. And then it just became a thing. Like people were like, I saw it at home. I was like, this is fucking sick. I posted it on Instagram. People were really like into it. I was like, yo, let's keep doing this. So like
Yeah,
we kept playing music. I kept recording people vibing out to the music, and then it slowly just became bigger than it was supposed to be. And it really, I think, separated me from the pack in the sense that, like, you know, I came in as a photographer, and sure, I had big magazine clients, and people knew me, but like, I still wasn't like differentiated in the sense that, like, you know, there are definitely name brand photographers out there, and you could consider me a successful cheap imitation of a bunch of them, you know.
I
And it
wouldn't
wasn't
say that.
until the and it wasn't until the video portion of my career where when I was playing music and just recording people just vibing out that I kind of became like my own brand that was like really different than everyone else, and people like really like identified me with that.
Hmm.
And so the music just became part of the process, you know,
Hmm.
and it's just fun. Like, I think it's cool because, you know, when we take photos, we're like really documenting this curated, perfect, beautiful, like thing that everyone sees, whether it's like someone really well dressed and they're standing and they're getting a photo taken, or it's like a real like dynamic movement, you know, photojournalistic shot and whatever. Like we're like really curating Fashion Week in a way that is just, you know, I think to a certain audience in the world, like it's pretty intimidating. And to kind of see this kind of like real vulnerable kind of like goofy side of like these people who are supposed to be like top of the top in the world, it's kind of interesting, right? Like,
Totally.
and so it just became this thing where like I don't know, I started goofing around more, and
Hmm.
then other people, like other editors and influencers and people around the industry, started like to like reflect my same energy. And
Hmm.
again, yeah, it just became something fun to do, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm happy people want to work with me in that capacity because it was never meant to kind of be that. I never meant
Hmm.
it to be like a monetized kind of like direction of my work, but it has become something that I love to do, and it's fun. It makes my work more fun, and people want to collaborate with that type of stuff. So
Hmm.
I'm happy to be doing it.
before and we're gonna go a little over, but I want to, if that's okay with you, I want
It's
to
totally
like
fine.
cover where we are, keep work going on the focus, and then get a little bit around. Because I just think it all has to go together. It's like everybody always says like, I want a personal style. How do I get it? And I think one big aspect of that is confidence. And it is hard to be confident when you're like making a choice of what you're going to wear to the show. You either like, some people want to get their picture taken, that is their goal, whether, I mean, the obviously influencers, then there's editors and stuff. I mean, the editors are out there like in their peer group also, so they might want to look a certain way. And when it comes to fashion, in my point of view as a stylist, I already know what's going to be happening for fall. I've been shooting it forever. I know what my pieces are, and so I feel like everyone's going to, all my people are going to know what that piece is. But so from your perspective, you're like, I don't give a shit about your Bottega bag or whatever. It's like, how much, I think a lot of it has to do, sometimes it is with jewelry, people get known, or their hair or whatever. Like, I'm kind of into jewelry, and sometimes, jewelry is not in, or in, like, take, for example, like the big minimalist movement, like no one was really wearing much. Like, if it's a super minimal thing, and you see someone wearing jewelry, like that's not going to prohibit you, right? And I guess you're not the right person to ask, because I feel like your vibe is, it's funny because like you say, oh, I'm just a cheap imitation of so and so, but I feel like all you guys have your own style, and maybe that's the magazines that curate or pick. But I feel like I know you all for a long time, or I've known you since you got started, and your vibe is more like a little bit streety, a little bit more like, like that, which feels like a little bit like, I don't know. Do you think jewelry makes a difference? And if so, what do you notice things like that? Is it a sparkle, or does it not even make a difference? Do you not even really notice?
Yeah, I mean, like, again, I'm not like your job is very different than mine. So I think you look at it from a different perspective. Jewelry, if it's like, I don't know how to say it. If it's like really fucking cool, yeah, I'm a photographer, right? I think it's like, I think a lot of it, if it's like more maximalist and minimalist, then it obviously draws my eye towards it more. Like when people are just like decked out in crazy rings, or like, you know, it, like Michelle Lamy always has crazy fucking fat rings, right? And so like when she smokes on top of like her like black
I
finger,
mean, it's
that's a jewelry shot, right? Like that's a jewelry shot. Like you focus in on like just here, and you shoot
totally
that moment, right? Of her smoking that cigarette with those fucking
right.
crazy ass rings and her fucking cool finger.
Tattoos and all this.
Yeah, so like that's something that I would like for sure like hone in on, but it's like it's it's less often than not, or no, less. Oh my god, it's not as often as I would imagine. Like me shooting, like me being like attracted to shooting, like and noticing jewelry per se.
Yeah,
But in what you're saying, like someone could be wearing like a white t-shirt and jeans, but like her jewelry kind of like pops from that.
yeah.
Like I think that just adds to it. Even me, like
Mhm.
if I wear all white in my white pants, like I always have these, and
Totally.
I
That's
always
why I
have
feel like
all my rings.
yeah, that's your signature style. And you don't like take that off because whatever. Yeah, show me, show me, show me.
Hold on. I wasn't ready for this. Hold on.
Just do it. Let's do it.
Let's get it. Let's get
There's a
it.
reason I picked you to
Let's
be.
get it. Let's get it. Let's get
Hey,
it. Let's get
let's
it.
get, we we have that thing. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm attracted to. I love everybody. I love all you guys. You guys are all been around. I love everybody and love them for their taste. And I certainly appreciate, Phil and Tommy and all that stuff. But you definitely have a vibe. Everybody has their vibe, but like you are the vibe. And I think because you have a vibe, not necessarily how you look, what you are. To me, your whole thing is energy. And I think I maybe approached you and started like messing around with you first because I was just like so attracted to your energy. Like you were just new on the scene. I was like, woohoo. Just but I think when people, the reason I bring up jewelry is because yes, it comes in and out, and minimalism and maximalism, and who's going to be doing what. And I think that when it comes to personal style, I feel like that's the main thing we're talking about. Like I'm going to tell you on this issue certain pieces to get. If you want these pieces, you better get it or forget, they're going to be gone. And but don't get it just because I tell you that's a get it, forget it. Get it if you love it, then rock
Yeah.
and do it in your own way. And that includes doing your own personal style. You want to do your hair curly or straight or whatever, like, I don't know. What
Yeah, it's tough because like I think that when it comes to style, like with certain pieces and like the reasons why you want it, right? Like why do you want to buy it? Do you want to buy it because you see everyone wearing it in my photos? Or do you want it because like you know you're gonna be wearing that all the time in a specific way that like you know is specific to like like you feel it like for me like if I want to buy something, I feel like this like attraction, this energy from this thing where I'm like I know I want this so bad that I'm just gonna like fucking rock the shit out of it. And like when you get it, maybe you don't know how you're gonna wear it, but you'll figure out a fucking way. And like it's always like it's always just like a reflection of me, right? I just rock it to death until it dies, and I move on to the next thing. Like that's kind of like my approach. But like sometimes you got to think like, do you want it because you want it, or do you want it because you see everyone else wearing it? And like I think if you want it because you see everyone else wearing it, you're just gonna cycle through that faster than normal because you didn't actually really want it. I
and you
don't
may not
know.
rock it. Like, and
Yeah,
I think that that's a big part of like statement pieces, which I'm kind of into because I don't mind making a statement. I
yeah,
just
me too. No, me too. I only
I'm
buy
not
things.
really minimalist. But yeah, it's like more you buy something because you like it. And then a lot of people are like, well, what am I gonna wear it with? Like, I can't buy that. What am I gonna wear it with? I'm like, just get the thing and just do it. Just
Yeah,
do what you feel with it. Because
yeah.
you could buy a Prada shoe and you may wear it headed to a Prada, or you might just rock it another way. It doesn't mean it's not gonna work. You just, right? It's just kind of like,
You wear it with fucking sweats. Who gives a shit? Just as long as it makes you feel good. Like style is a feeling. Like when you walk out of the house, you just know like you're on it. That is what matters. Like it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about it. It matters how you feel about yourself while you're wearing it. And I think that's the energy that people exude that I'm attracted towards.
okay. Wow. Thank you so much. I think you just about said all we need. If people are out there like trying to get their picture taken or they're figuring out what they're going to buy and they want to care about the way they look, but not really care, it's like your methodology of how you capture images of what attracts you is exactly what I would say to people too. You know what I mean? It's really from the inside out, which sounds so cliche, you
Oh, but
know?
it is. It totally is.
Um, and just for a little extra bit, can I ask you about like what you're doing now? Like, are you shooting for anyone specifically this season? Are you going to all the places? Like, what's your MO for the season? And then after that, I want to ask you about, like what you're doing, where your career's, what's happening with you right now.
Yeah. So this season, I can't believe Fashion Week is 2.5 weeks away.
I mean,
Um,
I know I don't even want to talk. I just want to let you be after this. Go back to your summer. Take those clothes
uh,
off. Get your
yeah.
shorts on. Go lay out on the balcony.
I'm doing the month in the sense that I do New York, Milan, and Paris. I've been skipping London the past few years just because it's a lot to do all four cities, and I think I just need a little bit of break before I go to Europe and chill here at home with my family for a few days before I go. Because being gone for 30 days in a row is a long time.
Yeah, I know. That's something that people just, that's
A lot.
that's probably will something I'd love to get to in the, our next time if you will do it with me. It's just like
Um,
not a cry me a river, but just kind of going into the mojo that it takes to be in this business and show up every day because it's fucking grind.
people,
And
yeah,
for you guys being
people
out in
are
the
always like,
weather,
people think I'm going on vacation all these times. I'm like, I've never been to Milan or Paris and seen the city from like a tourist point of view. I'm at the same places, at the same spots, shooting the same thing.
you're not
Like,
sitting at Kova like having a tea
oh,
sandwich, you know what I mean,
yeah,
and going
yeah.
to Monte Napoleone or whatever, and like, yeah.
But at the same time, it's amazing. So like, there's obviously pros and cons. But so this season, I am going to New York, Milan, and Paris. I am working with a ton of different people, but I'm trying to change the approach on how I cover the month. I think that I might try to drop photo completely, like completely. Like my camera is gone, it's done. I'm leaving it at home.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
might just go full on video. I feel like for me, it will be much more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know how much work I'll get, maybe
Hmm.
I don't have any from it so far. It's, all my work is photo, and I'm thinking of just like not going in with any clients just so I can maybe try to force this transition for myself and have other people realize, okay, this is what he's doing now. So like,
Hmm.
just trying to do both the stuff. So I'm trying to drop photo, focus on video, but video in the sense that like I'm trying to be more of a storyteller. I think that the for my time of documenting an outfit here and outfit there, I think that might be coming to an end because at the same time, there's also thousands of photographers out there doing the same thing, shooting the same people from the same angle, from the same style. That I just like, it's just kind of too much at this point. And I also get a little bit bored, to be honest, because
Hmm.
it has been, the commercialization of it all does make it feel a little boring. Like there's back in the day, we would be running for to shoot people for blocks. Just
Right.
stop. And now it's
I
like I
know.
don't. I'm like, I'm fine. You know, like
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
But so I'm trying to find that like excitement again. And I think video from a storytelling perspective is what really interests me right now. The past couple seasons, I've had a couple clients hire me to basically not shoot for them, but to document myself shooting or doing my job. So, last season I worked with Google and they
I
were like,
love that.
show us behind the scenes of what it's like to travel to all these cities around the world and be a fashion week photographer. And I'm like, cool. And so, I had my assistant come with me. He filmed me like kind of like YouTube vlog style. And it was fun. Like it was really fun. And I think during that process, like, you what the final product on Instagram or TikTok, you know, 30 seconds, 1 minute, that's all you can really get. But that
Yeah.
had so much content that I was like, you don't actually get to see the real behind the scenes of what we're doing. You're just getting a 1 minute curation of behind the scenes of like Paris or Milan, but it's 1 minute. You can't show anything in 1 minute.
Oh my God, no, not
That's like
everything is
real, right?
taped.
Like there's so many moments that are so fucking cool. Like for example, last season in Paris, Michelle Ali, she was wearing this crazy fucking hair. I'm gonna pull up on my iPhone.
I want to say,
She had this
I l-
crazy horn. Like she wore like a 4 foot horn.
what?
And yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you. Show you. Look at this. Look at this.
Oh my God. Yeah. What? Oh my God. Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa,
And so I saw
whoa.
her and I was like, how are you gonna get to the next show? She goes, I'm gonna take a Uber or a taxi. I was like, you're gonna get into a car with that thing? She goes, yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait with you so I could see this happen. So
Totally.
I went to a cafe with her. We are just talking, whatever, we're chit chatting. And then she's like, oh, my Uber's here. I was like, okay, cool. Can I just film you like getting into the Uber? Because it's kind of fucking funny. And she's like, yeah. So this whole time she's just like, you know, trying to do this. And like I had this whole thing on video, but this is the photo of her in the car,
Oh,
right?
no way. Oh,
Like
that's
it's
great.
hilarious.
Yeah, I love
It's
that.
incredible. And I
I
have
love
this whole
that.
thing documented on video. And like just that one kind of like moment in itself is kind of like a really interesting kind of like behind the look of like, all right, you might see a million photos of Michelle in that outfit on all the fucking websites and magazines. But that scenario that I documented on video, like you're never gonna see it. But that's what it took, and that's real life, and that's what happened in the moment in Paris.
It's kind of
And I
like
think,
when, go ahead.
and I think that people are just they're interested in just seeing like the process, and I think the process is what is the most interesting for a lot of the things that I'm digesting now. It's the content that I'm digesting. And like, I think the final product is always great, but like, I want to know how the final product is made. I want to
Hmm.
see what you guys did to get to make that. And so for me, having, gotten into video through playing music, that whole process evolved into me trying to now do this document this whole month from a real documentary like point of view. Like I'm just gonna like film everything. You never know what's gonna happen because every season crazy shit happens. You never know
Totally.
what to expect. And funny things happen, shitty things happen, good things happen, bad things happen, and you kind of document it all. And whatever the narrative and storyline is, it is. But I think that would be really fun to kind of just like show the world this is shit
Oh
that
my
happens,
God.
right?
Just going from show to show, like well, first of all, can people see that the Google thing you said, can people find that somewhere and watch it?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. It's
Okay.
into the top, but like, it's still very much like
It's not very long.
it's not very long, but it's also just like, it's a cultivation of like, hey, let's see some people in your video because you know the people that I shoot are cool, they're fun, they have
Yeah.
good outfits. But let's see some of you like giving some, giving some
Yeah.
energy. And
Yeah.
then, kind of like everything, some things in between, and just
Yeah.
kind of like, so I made like a little video music montage of like, what it's like to be in Milan, me doing
Yeah.
me. And I think it's great. And I did another collaboration with Harry's last season, and
Oh.
it was a more like more like I narrated like kind of like what it is to be me. But
Mhm.
again, cannot say much in an hour or a minute.
I
And
have a
so
question. What do you think are some of this is like something I didn't ask you before, but like I mean, we all know what they are, but what are some like really hilarious, what are some hilarious things that happen that people wouldn't like when they look at you and they think this glamorous version of you and what you're doing? Like, give me like the biggest polar opposite between how it looks to everybody else and what's actually happening. Like, for example, things that happen that people don't see that would surprise them maybe, or they
yeah,
would
I mean the lack of sleep. I sleep maybe 2 hours a night,
what?
and anyone who kind of follows this industry knows that it starts in New York, September 8th. It goes to October 4th, close to a full month. We're shooting from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. and then we go home, we eat, and then we're editing till like, you know, sometimes 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And then New York's kind of manageable. And then once you
Mhm.
get into Milan, when the jet lag comes into play, like
And the schedule, well,
the schedule is the same. It's still
yeah, I
like
guess.
9 a.m. to 6 p.m. shoot day, and then you got to go edit till the wee hours of the night. But when you start going to Milan, first that jet lag comes into play. You land and you go to your first show, your jet lag done.
Mhm.
But then I'm in Milan. I'm with all my friends from around the world that I don't normally see in New York. So we're going out to dinner. We're going to parties. We're fucking, we're vacationing, and to some degree because we're working so hard, we gotta like have something to like, help us get through. So we're always going to nice dinners. You go to a nice dinner, you get a nice glass of wine. Maybe one glass of wine turns into two or three or four. Who knows? Maybe two more bottles later. But regardless, we're out here doing our thing. But then I gotta go home and work. I gotta go home. I might not get home till midnight, and I gotta work till 4 or 5 in the morning because it takes 4 to 5 hours to do like to go through like 4,000 photos a day, and then like 8 hours of videos a day, like to do that every night, and then to produce, and then to give to the magazines, to give to your clients every night. You have to do it. If you don't do it, then what are you doing? It like why you there?
Whoa.
So like, we're not getting any sleep. So like when I'm out there and I'm like, and you see me and I'm like turned up and I'm vibing, I got the energy, like it takes a lot out of me, And so,
Totally.
and there's just days where sometimes in between shows, I'm just like sleeping. I'm literally just sleeping on the street. When you guys are like in, I'm just like passed out. And
Wow.
when it's go time, it's fucking go time, Because like I feel like I have to like put out 200% energy to get back 50% from people.
Yeah.
Not everyone. Like if I see you, I know you're gonna turn out, but not everyone does that, right? And for me, like I thrive on that. So like if I got to put out more to get back a little bit from other people, it's the only way.
Right. Right.
You gotta make them feel comfortable. You gotta make them feel like it's okay to like, let loose a little bit, and not be so like stiff. And so, yeah, like when you see me sometimes, like I am dead. I don't want to be there. But like at the end of the day, I know if I put out some positivity, I know I'm gonna get back positivity. When I get it back, then it just pushes me more to like continue to be more positive. And so, yeah, I think what to your question, people just might not know like how rough it is on all of our
Right.
bodies, mentally and physically, and what we're going through out there. Again, you see the highlights on Instagram of our lives, of your lives, of us doing this. Like that's why people think we're on vacation, but no, it is a job for everybody. It is a grind, and we're all going through our shit. And you know, it's tough. It's a tough thing to go through, but it's also fun. And so,
Yeah.
and I love it. So like, there's always that
I
contrast.
think your vibe comes from how much you love it. I feel that you love what
100%.
you do. That's always a
Like
vibe.
if people didn't respond to me, I'd be like, all right, I'm done. I can't. There's no use.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I can't wait to see you soon in action. I can't wait for everyone. I think everyone should follow you for like you have great pictures, you have a great sense of style and a great eye, but I think it's really like the fun side of fashion. I think a lot of people get so scared of fashion, they forget about the fun. And I think it's also really normalizing that, how you said that when you see people that people like idolize for their style, and then they're like having a great time, it like no, humanizes people,
Yeah.
humanizes fashion. And
Like
for me,
it could even just take like one little thing. Like I won't name names, but there's people who are just like, they're all about their work. Like when they see me, they know like, oh shit, Tyler's here. Like I'm gonna just continue to walk. Like I don't partake in that stuff, and that's fine. We're friends. Like I know why they don't do it. They're higher up, so they got to be a little more like buttoned up. But every once in a while, they'll give me like a 2 second little thing. And I'm like, that's all I need. And so like even that alone, people see now it's like she's a real person, you know, and that just it. I love that aspect of my work and just kind of seeing like we're all just out here and seeing those little bits of positivity, everyone can take away from that.
I love that. Okay, well, thank you for being so generous with your time. I went over. I'll see
So
you
fine.
soon. Thank you so much for being here. I think it was such a cool like BTS moment, and it tells people really just about personal style and like, um whatever, all these other takeaways. And I hope we can talk again about Mojo and lots of other things and just like other BTS stuff. Because I think I have so many questions I would ask you. How do you guys get to and from? Da da da. Where do you stay? Where do your hotels?
Yeah,
What do you
yeah,
like to
yeah, yeah,
eat?
yeah.
A lot of stuff that people are interested in. So thank you so much. I will hope to see you soon. And thanks for everything.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna take this.
You're gonna
I'm starting this again in case I want to use it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like the strategy to this, if you go to a show in the beginning, and you're there early enough, that you're gonna get if you're situated properly,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna photograph everyone coming in because
Okay.
but it'll be sporadic. So you're gonna get one person here, maybe 1 minute goes by, you're gonna shoot another person here, maybe 2 minutes go by. And so like it's slower, it's a little more boring because it's just like one person here, one person
Oh,
there.
to get the arrivals versus people leaving. Got
Yeah.
it.
And then when people leave, it's more dynamic because everyone comes out at the same time.
Oh
It's like
wow.
clusterfuck. You got to choose. If one person goes this way, another person goes that way, and you can't choose who to shoot. You got to decide, and then you got to commit to the side you go to because where do people exit from? And so it's a whole like in the moment,
Totally.
where do you go? And you kind of just go with your gut and your intuition, or you strategically place yourself on a corner because of the light's good here, or like this, or like there's less photographers here, or whatever. There's so many different like reasonings for why you or where you're shooting. But to my point of like, how do we get to every
The
show?
strategy. So you're saying if you shoot the arrivals, you don't shoot if there's another show right after.
It's a different type of photograph you get because
Oh,
it's like
interesting.
it's very much like you're more likely to see people and get a cleaner shot of someone during the arrival because
Yeah.
they're not coming with like a mob of people.
Yeah.
If it's a group, it's a clean group shot or a
Yeah.
clean single shot. Or they're getting out of a car. So like this is like that moment of like the getting out of the car photo, right?
Yeah.
Like real like action dynamic shot. Um versus everyone coming out at the same time. You can't shoot everyone because you really only realistically have 5 minutes to shoot
Totally.
when one leaves,
And it
right?
is true they fan out in different ways. Some people
They
are
find
like
out
boom,
different
boom, boom.
ways,
Some
and
people
then
go
everyone's looking for their cars, calling their drivers, asking where they are, and like so then they're all like, they're all in their moment, and like then that's an opportunity for me. I like to find like and shoot these moments because like they're kind of not paying attention to me, and I
Yeah.
can like shoot it in a way that I like versus like
Mhm.
if they're just walking in and they see me, it can be like direct eye contact, smiling, which is fine,
Yeah.
but like I like a more like in the moment type of
Yeah.
photo. So like
Yeah.
different photographers have like prefer different like ways of shooting and like depending on what your style is, you prefer the entrance versus the exit. And so
Oh,
like
okay.
we'll plan our day of like, okay, there's 5 shows today. And then we'll look at the designers and we'll think, okay, which type of people will be going to which type of shows, right? Like different audience at Puppets and Puppets, different audience at Kalina Strada, different audience at Altazar, different audience at Michael Kors, and you'll figure out depending
Wow.
on the type of shot that you like, you'll go to an exit or entrance per show, and then you'll plan the day because you can't shoot the entrance and exit for every show because
Yeah, that's what I was always
they're too
like.
close together.
Fascinating. I
They're
never
too close
realized
together.
that.
So you have to pick and choose. If I'm gonna shoot the entrance here, I'm gonna leave here and then go through the exit here. And then like, and it's also depending on where they are geographically in the city, And so like you gotta plan the day out the night
Wow.
before, and it's a whole game plan.
And how do you guys get from, do you take the subway or you motorcycle or something?
It
Or
depends. In New York City, you'll use subway,
it's
Uber.
faster. That's how you guys beat everybody. I'm like, they must
Yeah.
be they're beating everybody, because I always thought people did the arrivals and the exits. I
Some
guess I
do.
don't
If
pay
if it's
attention
a
enough.
really good show, you stay for both. Like
Oh,
if
okay.
it's a really good show, like you stay for both. And the location is sick, you stay for both. But
Yeah.
like, you play by ear. But yeah, I go subway New York mainly. This season I'll have a Vespa. Milan, Vespa is the best way because there's no Ubers, and the subway only
It's
works
sketch.
sometimes because sometimes you gotta take like the trolley and you're like, I don't want to take the trolley. It's just like,
The trolley behind, in front of the Dolce show.
it's just the worst. It's the worst to Milan to get around. So that's
Totally.
kind of difficult. And like they do have Ubers, but the Uber Black. So you got to pay like $60 to go like
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. Like when you go to the Gucci show, like you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So like it's
Totally.
tough to get places, right?
Yeah. People don't know how far away they are either. They have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, even now, Brooklyn, I'm like, really? You know what I mean? When it's, I mean, New
Oh
York,
yeah. When you're like at Manhattan and then you gotta go to a Brooklyn show, then you gotta go back to Manhattan show. It's like, come on.
or
Can you
like in
guys
Paris when it used to be like, McQueen used to be, I don't know, Paris can be like that too.
Yeah. Paris is great. Paris is actually the best place to to get around the easiest because New York is the subway's fine, but New York subways, they're
Mhm.
hot. They don't come every 1 minute. Sometimes you gotta wait 10 minutes for a train.
Mhm.
So yeah, it varies per city.
Okay, final question. I'm gonna let you go. We'll figure something out for later. What's your favorite city to shoot?
Every city is it's like a kid. You can't pick your favorite kid. Every
Oh,
kid is a
really?
little bit
I thought you were
different.
gonna say Paris for some reason. Just
If I
because, I
had to
mean, fashion editors always like, I mean, I
if I
didn't
had to pick
understand it.
one, yeah,
What?
if I had to pick one, it would be Paris. But New York is fun for me because it's like I feel I shoot more people that I know in New York because like
It's your
all,
hometown.
all the editors, all the influencers, like
Sure, got it.
they travel everywhere. But then like, there's a certain like subculture of community that goes to certain shows in New York where I'm like, it's like you don't get some of these people, these kind of audiences in Milan or Paris. Like they're super like you go to a show, you go to certain shows just have like certain, they're
We
not
said
really
like Colleen Estrada. Like, who else would you think like has a vibe like that?
puppets and puppets for sure.
Mhm.
Like some of those shows you don't really get to cut those types of audiences
It's
in
real, like gritty. It's more, it's a vibe.
it's a vibe. And like it's more like kids, right? Less versus like
Yeah,
editors,
yeah.
which is cool. Um and so Milan is cool only because I just like the food. I love just being
I
able to
hear
go to
you.
these
And the
shows.
coffee. Oh my God.
Oh,
And I just
coffee,
like,
the coffee. Oh my God. I get
when you
so
were saying you
I
got jet lag, I'm like, Milan's a vibe because we're all just, it's like that first
yeah,
coffee you get right and
And
you land in the morning. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm
like
here.
it's technically my least favorite city, but because the coffee and the
I know.
pizza is so good and so cheap,
Same,
just in between every show, I'm like, yeah,
same,
I fuck with Milan,
same, same.
And then Paris is just like I think like the best general overall kind of experience as
Yeah,
far as like the people that are going, the shows, the designers, the city, the landscape, the ease of transportation, the food. It's generally the best, but like you said, it's like you can't pick a favorite kid. There's
yeah,
something
yeah,
something good about every single
yeah.
one. So, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. It's for real. Goodbye now. Thank
And
you
now
so
we're
much.